Hello, everyone. Sting 3. There we go. Uh, Already, move forward. My screen, though, is having trouble picking up the chat. Give me just a sec. Chat, come on. Do. Still having trouble picking up chat for some reason. That's going to be frustrating. There we go. Chat just showed up. All right. Hello to everyone out there. Hope you're having a great day. So today we're listening to Thrill Show X. Not a lot of description, just it's their channel and they make music and animations. So very cool. Hey, help a noob out. So we're gonna listen to Thrill Show X's musical stylings. Specifically, how's that there? Specifically, we're looking at their horror music. So that's going to be playing in the background. I know it's a much more limited selection, but I really do want to kind of jump around between all the other groups. So help a noob out. How are you doing? How's your day been? Hey, Target. This might actually be a good time. Oh, super sore is not good. This might be a good time to tell you guys I've added a Discord. I don't know if you can join it, but you can try to, and then tell me how that goes on. It's at the bottom in the widgets section. So helping you about your sore. I'm sorry to hear that. But you know that job of yours is about remodeling, so you know that sounds like you did work. So I'm hoping you're getting paid. Yeah. So you got hacking bamboozled on a job? Oh no. So yeah. Money, though, is good. Like, you know, you're getting your money you need. Target, how's your day going? Doing well? Lazy Saturday? Yeah, lazy Saturdays are good Saturdays. So, like I said, I don't know exactly how it's working out on the Discord, but I have a widget. Perhaps you guys can get in. And then that's in general for not much. Basically the idea is because these are a little more freeform, where we talk about Vladeska's powers and dominion and stuff like that. And we're just talking D&D. I figured it would be best to open up a Discord channel and then just have a streaming section so that, like, if anybody wants to, they can join in, and we just hang out and we talk and stuff while we're reading through this. That way you guys have a little bit more of instantaneous communication with me. But for now, we won't worry about that as much. If you guys are interested, you of course check out the Discord and let me know if you can join, and if you cannot, you just let me know and I figure out how to invite you. But for now, we're talking still about Falkovnia, and we're looking at Vladeska's powers and dominion. Vladeska is the, I believe, Dominion Lord? Bloody skeletons are always a fun idea. Yes, definitely. Vladeska is, I believe, the Dominion Lord, and Falkovnia is the ever under siege settlement. Apparently, Vladeska killed the wrong person, and upon their conquering out all of the territory they could, they were transported here to Falkovnia, and now they, after conquering Falkovnia, must fight a never-ending swarm of zombies, all of which seem to have the faces of people that Vladeska has known in the past, victims of previous raids as a mercenary captain. So, Vladeska Drakov is an experienced military commander with statistics similar to those of a knight. Which is pretty strong. Challenge rating 3. Has plate mail, 52 hit points. While her martial skill is considerable, her true might comes in the form of the obedient army that unquestioningly enacts her every whim. The Falcon's Talons. Vladeska's military forces are both completely overwhelming and entirely outnumbered. As an occupying force, the Talons are terrifying. Their numbers are relatively few, but they are organized enough to oppress Lakar's ragged survivors and enforce Drakov's totalitarian laws. In the face of zombie hordes, though, they are fighting a losing battle against foes whose numbers only grow. And every time a Talon falls, Lakar's final defeat comes closer. Talon soldiers use the Guard stat block, while the commanders utilize the Veteran stat block. So another challenge rating 3 with 17 armor and 58 hit points instead of 52. So they could probably give a run to Vladeska as a knight. Let me just actually pull up the Veteran stats real quick. Plus 5 to hit, 1d8 plus 3, or 1d10 plus 3 versus let's see, 2d6 plus 3 and 1d10 in general piercing. 1d6 plus 3. So they could, a single veteran could probably give the knight, that is Vladeska, a little bit of a run for her money if anyone were ever to truly decide they wanted to fight Vladeska and try to regain honors or something like that. Martial law. Lakar, and to an extent, all of Falkovnia. To an extent, because it's only zombies everywhere. There's no way anyone can survive anywhere. Is a martial dictatorship. Drakov's troops carry out example-setting impalings as punishment for even the slightest crimes. These executions serve the greater good and impose necessary order, but make it clear that zombies aren't the realm's only monsters. Only bad decisions. There is one simple truth in Falkovnia: the dead are about to kill everyone. This sets the stage for countless bad decisions, from leaders making terrible sacrifices or permitting amoral acts to individuals making fatalistic choices. Everyone in Falkovnia behaves as if it's their last day alive, because it probably is. Closing the borders. Unlike most Dark Lords, Vladeska Drakov cannot open her domain's borders, so Falkovnia's borders are usually closed. Anyone who enters the mists surrounding Falkovnia encounters an endless number of zombies, even if travelers somehow avoid these shambling corpses. They emerge from the mists back in Falkovnia, pursued by an undead mob. For 1 week every month, though, following the night of the new moon, the mists surrounding Falkovnia are empty of zombies and the borders open. During this time, Drakov sends patrols of Talons to sweep the edges of the mists for deserters. These patrols are difficult to avoid, and battles with them often attract zombies. That's an interesting take. Gotta say, not to be super mean, but if I worked for Vladeska, I would get super on board with Border Patrol, and then just run when I got the chance. I know it's a bit cheeky to do, but why would I stay here? It's an awful place. Vladeska's torment. Vladeska Drakov is close to attaining her desired empire, but circumstances keep it ever out of reach. Vladeska knows it's only a matter of time until zombies overrun Lakar. She has no time for rest or deliberation. Every moment must be spent to the fullest before the hordes return. Every wasted second is a life lost. Vladeska refuses to flee. She knows doing so could save many of Lakar's people, but it would mean admitting failure, which is a fate worse than death. Vladeska recognizes every zombie's face, knowing they're her own fallen soldiers, the defenders of communities she raised, or murdered civilians. She doesn't understand why this is, but she knows the zombies are coming for her alone. That's really interesting. Very wild, too. Role-playing Vladeska. Steely and fierce, Vladeska Drakov views softness as a weakness and resents having her time wasted. This is a quality gal right here! She values cold competency and makes life and death decisions mercilessly. I mean, like, that would be awesome, except for the part where you refuse to run away because the zombies are chasing you specifically. Her isolation and the stress of rule weigh heavily upon her, but daily catastrophes keep her focused on her nation's needs and not her failures. Interesting. She believes a foe from her past is responsible for the endless zombie attacks and quietly looks for trustworthy agents to find the zombie's source. Now that's really interesting. You could play a really, really weird and interesting... I wonder if there's a way to do it where you get the party to go out and search all of Falkovnia, and then like take like a couple months and have them like have to fight new monsters and new zombies, all this stuff increasing in power and strength as they're trying to find the source, as Vladeska puts it, and then find, I guess it would have to be like a pool. And you sit down, and it's like a seeing pool, a scrying pool, and you can ask it a question, and it'll show you the answer. So, of course, you ask the only important question in this campaign, which is, who is the one that is sending these forces against Vladeska? And then, instead of the face of some guy or some person or any kind of thing that tells them like something useful, it shows Vladeska. Gives them a what? How? What is. Another thing that's interesting about Falkovnia is Falkovnia feels like it shouldn't be a domain of dread. I know that sounds really weird. Like, I would play it less as a domain of dread and more as you think you're outside of the domain of dread, if that makes any sense. And so you don't believe this is a domain of dread, you just believe you come upon a place and there's zombies constantly everywhere. So I would rework the mists so that they don't seem like actual mist. I just make it that whenever you try to get out, zombies kind of come back in. And the patrol is this 1 week period where the zombies are not coming in but are still kind of out there, and that's why the patrol is searching, because they're trying to find somebody who's like skipping through the line of zombies. But otherwise, I think I would make it as much like this is just a normal town, it's just under a very strange curse, and have the party not really realize they're in a domain of dread until the critical moment when, like, Vladeska tries to kill them or something like that, and then they're like, we gotta get out of here, we gotta run, we've got to get through the mists, and somehow they breach the zombie horde. They wait for the proper moment, they rush through, break it, and that's when maybe like it's a memory thing, like their memories come back to them or something like that, and they're like, oh god, that place is just another domain of dread. Just something to tell the party this. You thought you were in a new zone, not a domain of dread, but the truth is you're deeply within a domain of dread. Personality trait for Vladeska. I am the only one capable of making the decisions. Target 549 says, it's the domain of dread. People walk into the mist and zombies come out. Maybe people have stopped trying. Very fair, yes. I would stop trying too if that's all that ever happened. If I sat there and watched it happen like 3 or 4 times, I'd just be like, hey guys, what if we didn't this time try to escape? Still though, I think I would play it off as I'd try to tell the party, I would try to make the party think it wasn't a domain of dread. I'd try to make them think this is just a normal place, and then have the realization click eventually. Anyway, personality trait, I am the only one capable of making the decisions required for the greater good. This proves my excellence and sets me apart. Very nice. Ideal. Once I have crushed my opposition, I will claim my realm, ruling not as a conqueror, but as royalty. Nice. Bond. All who live in my domain are my troops, and they exist to further my will. That is a scary assumption you've made. Those who deny me are the traitors, bound for execution. Yeah, that's the problem. I and all I command will know death before we show weakness in defeat. Ah! Yeah! That's a flaw. Yeah. Well, I guess this is kind of a poorly written flaw, because before we show weakness in defeat, I think that that's supposed to mean something metaphorically as opposed to the literal statement of what it is, because honestly, the idea that showing weakness is the idea that this is a flaw, like I and all I command will know death before we show weakness in defeat, that's not really a weakness. That's fine in a lot of things. I mean, the real problem with showing weakness is it's like what do you consider a weakness? And so there might be a lot of questions about that. But there's also this idea that if you're in a fight for your life, and there's nothing you can do, you just have to keep fighting. I wouldn't want to show, depending on what we're talking about as weakness, if I were in a fight for my life, and it was the last fight of my life, and I had to defend myself, and I was trying to survive no matter what, and the enemy would, anything that was if I made a bad movement in positioning, or if I did something that made it easier to kill me or anything like that, I would never want anything like that to happen, weaknesses in my stance or in my fighting style. But I think metaphorically what they're trying to say is, I would rather die than have us run away, which is way worse. Vladeska Drakov and her Chalons struggle to defend Lakar from endless zombie hordes. And it's also really interesting that Vladeska refuses so deeply to do this, because not that it's a necessarily bad thing or anything like that, but if you're a really good military commander, feints and tactical retreats, there's a reason for all of those things. You never say running isn't an option. In fact, it's a stated idea in warfare that the only reason two armies ever met up to fight was because both said, this is where I want to have my final battle. This is where I believe I have the best chance of achieving a form of victory over my opponent. And so the idea that Vladeska sits there and says, we could easily win if I just left this zone and, fought somewhere else, and then says to herself, no, is what? You're a military commander. In fact, you're a military genius. What do you mean you're not going to go for the win? But this is her land, I suppose, and it's more of a moral blow, I guess, to losing the final bastion is a moral blow. But it's not like she's owned this place for long. I'm probably being too. What do you guys think? You guys are watching. Do you think it's I'm being too harsh on her for the decisions she's making, or do we want to remember that they're also kind of not in the right state of mind right now as far as the domains of dread go? Put this here. Anyway, adventures in Falkovnia. Falkovnia provides the perfect setting for disaster horror, particularly of the zombie apocalypse variety. Shocking. Characters might be harried by zombie pursuit across the empty countryside or asked to defend the last holdout of civilization against a relentless horde. The zombies could serve as direct threats or motivate others to monstrous deeds, with the ends supposedly justifying the means. You determine the composition and behavior of the zombie hordes of Falkovnia. The zombies emerge from the mists on the night of the new moon and trudge toward the last holdouts of civilization. Whether they move in a single wave or scatter into smaller bands, this surge brings a monthly threat to besiege the walls of Lakar. When creating the encounters, consider the average level of your group and what threats you want to represent. The zombie entry in Chapter 5 presents a variety of zombie types to complement the standard shambling zombie of the Monster Manual, posing greater threats or terrifying surprises. This Helpa is going to be where those bloody skeletons you talked about come in, I bet. The horde can also include other corporeal undead such as skeletons, ghouls, or wights. If I were going to do skeletons, I would probably add in to them that they have pieces of their flesh left over. Specifically that Vladeska will recognize them as people who got like half their face burned off or like a whole chunk of them ripped away. So that, because there's that constant idea that Vladeska knows each and every single one of the faces that's in front of her. So I would give some kind of an idea of what's happening. Yeah, there's a fun if you don't have a holy attack, they just keep coming back. That's right, the undead have that undead resistance thing, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Alternatively, the zombies might not be undead at all, but another group attempting to lay claim to Falkovnia, perhaps a forgotten human culture or relentless giants. Falkovnia is one of the few domains where the characters in the land's Dark Lord theoretically represent the same side, united against the zombies. The characters may defend Drakov's people and enact her defensive measures, but might also try to subvert her Pyrrhic strategies or attempt to smuggle survivors to safe locations outside Lakar. Consider exploring plots in which the characters rise in the Dark Lord's esteem as trueborn of Falkovnia, but then must walk the line of both keeping Drakov's trust and upholding their principles. Consider the following plots when planning adventures in this domain. We'll get to those in just a sec. First, we want to see these zombie types. Swarm of zombie limbs, a zombie clot, which seems to... Oh gosh. There we go. That's something to fight. You throw in a couple of wheelbarrows and things, and you can... This can be like a mass grave or something like that. Like dirt and stuff like that. And it can be a mass grave that... I would play a lot of... What's her name? What's her name? Drakov. I would play a lot of, if you're around Drakov, there's a lot of these like things where Drakov says, I think have Drakov like reference battles in the past, but the party doesn't quite get it. But Drakov will say something like let's say that these guys all died and she like made a mass grave, and so you see a bunch of dirt and clot and things like that, and it's like ripping itself around and destroying everything. And then have Drakov like openly in front of the party say something like, just like in Chesnik or Vesnik or something like that. And have them like go, what? And then like just, she says, all right, here's what we do, da-da-da-da, and tells people like, this is the plan, and have it be maybe a good plan, but not necessarily a plan you would expect out of someone who's done this before. Just like have her scream like, get that thing down, I need archers, something to really give the idea that she's still in command, she knows what she's talking about, but there isn't quite that level of, I've fought these before. Anyway, Falkovnian adventures. Zombies are acting weird and being normal, like people. In Morfenzi, Bjorn Horstman envisions an army of bestial super soldiers. He works to perfect what he calls his primal serum, an elixir that inflicts those injected with a random form of lycanthropy. He seeks to use the characters as test subjects. Awful. Plague strikes the slums of Lakar. Those killed by the disease rise as zombie plague spreaders. Nice. I didn't see that in the list. Oh, there it is. Has a virulent miasma. Otherwise is pretty good for a zombie. Pretty tough. Each creature... Okay. So once per day, he just, like, boom, explodes. I would... Depending on how I were going about this, if I were using the... Yeah, Undead Fortitude is the really useful one. Depending on how I were running this, I would probably have somebody fighting with the zombies? It depends. If I want to do all undead, then I just do all undead. But there's another that you could do like there's somebody kind of helping out. You have this person getting this plague spreaders like into residential districts and then like releasing it like a bomb. Pack of zombie animals, predominantly wolves, ravens, and cattle, attack work bands from Lakar and survivors upon the roads. The characters are enlisted to serve as guards. Oh, I would love that. I would. So like you're going along the road, and then you see like a cow. It's at the top of the hill or something like that. So you're at the top of the hill. You see this cow. You can tell it's just like it's got its back to you, and it's like it's obviously munching on grass or something. And you're like, okay, that's weird. Cow, middle of the road, like maybe not even the middle, like on the side of the road. It's like munching in grass that's like connected to the side of the road. And you're like, well, whatever. We need more cows. And then you walk up and you find out that it's a zombie cow eating brains, and like it turns toward you and goes, "Murr!" And then that's a signal for the zombie army to descend upon your group. And there's a whole bunch of undead ravens attacking the caravan and undead wolves blocking you off. And the cow just sits there and was like eating out the brains of a poor guy, just and like doesn't involve itself in the combat at all. The party's just like, ah. Oh man, that would be great. Characters are sent to investigate a fallen star that crashed near the village of Delmunster. The village proves remarkably peaceful and free of zombies, in large part because it is populated by the podlings of a body taker plant. A through B, body taker plant. Whether hailing from the stars or sprouting from hidden depths, a malicious vegetation known as body taker plants seeks to become the dominant form of life wherever they appear. These invasive organisms subvert whole societies by consuming individuals and replacing them with duplicates called podlings. Body taker plants view themselves as perfect organisms and seek to dominate the land where they grow. To their minds, a world would be healthier and more efficient were they in control. Anyone who disagrees either lacks perspective or is fit to serve only as fertilizer. I think that's the pod people. Let's check the... Yeah, it paused. What was that movie about the pod people? I'm not sure I like that they are like telling you like this is the plan of the body taker plant, but that's fine. Like I always like it when it's a bit more like mysterious, like I don't know what's going on, but it's fine. So the body taker plants are definitely long. That's a person inside of them. Great. It's probably the podlings. A body taker plant roots deeply, spreading near invisible filaments throughout the soil. Should any of these fibers survive the plant's destruction, the body taker plant regrows after a matter of months. Salting or poisoning the soil where it grew destroys these filaments and prevents the plant from reappearing. Salt or poison? Interesting. Body Snatcher? Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes, thank you, Helpa. Yeah, Body Takers are Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That sounds pretty close to right to me. I think the plant never did anything, so they've added in that level, but like the plants released a spore, which, what was it? It was a spore which when you slept, it like copied your data and killed you somehow, and then brought out like a body, and that was like a new you, but like you weren't you anymore, you were just part of the plants. It was something like that. And this doesn't quite have that. Instead, it looks like it grabs you, shoves you inside of it. I'm just reading the entrapping pod and the vine lash. And so it like grabs you, eats you, and then like spits out the new you, which is the other thing. Yeah, you need poison or salt to make sure that the plant never comes back. Which sucks, because if I remember, salting the earth is actually bad, meaning that, like, you will kill the podling, but then you will also have to have, like, at least a year of doomed harvest. Like, there is no food that you can make because you salted the earth. Was it that salting the earth... I think I remember you can salt the earth a little bit, and that's good, but if you heavily oversalt it, that ruins everything. Either way, body taker plants either capture unsuspecting victims with their vines, or accept captives brought to them by their podling servants. In either case, they drag creatures into their central pod, where potent chemicals render the captive comatose. Over the course of hours, the creature is dissolved and its body repurposed into a podling duplicate. Podlings are near-perfect mimics of the creatures they replace. Pay no attention to that green slime coming out, despite having the knowledge of those they mimic. Podlings frequently miss the nuances of interactions between sapient beings. Interesting. These duplicates make excuses about their odd behavior, but those familiar with an individual replaced by a podling can often tell that something is amiss. Roll on the podling behavior table to see what unusual habits a podling might demonstrate. Podling behaviors. 1. Podling will abandon the habits and hobbies of the creature it's mimicked. 2. The podling lavishes affection on plants and views houseplants with excessive sympathy. 3. The podling relishes exposing its skin to the sun. It resents clothing and hair. 4. The podling often reacts as if some unseen force is speaking to it, staring into the distance or nodding. Great. 5. The podling often communicates to other podlings using deep speech. 6. The podling no longer understands the nuances of a relationship, system, or instrument. So some of these are pretty hard to notice, and others are like super easy to notice. Like, communicating in deep speech is only a problem if there are other podlings nearby, for example. But it's interesting that they know deep speech, which I guess makes sense because they're supposed to be like deep down from the earth sort of things. But that brings up a lot of questions. Like, it sounds, I guess it is just a plant, but it says they come from outer space. Yeah, whether hailing from the stars or sprouting from hidden depths. That's interesting. I would think you'd want to make a decision as to where they come from, and then maybe change their what's it called? Their type accordingly. Like, if they're from the stars, I'd probably go aberration instead of plant. I know aberrations mostly come from underground, but aberrations always had like a star vibe to me. And honestly, that's kind of how they're written. They're like, these are star creatures. They just live underground because they don't want to be noticed by anybody. Only things like the aboleth are from like a long time in the past, but even them, like, they're like almost gods or something like that. They like used to be able to be on par with gods as far as fighting goes. 6. A character learns that an influential Talon plans to overthrow General Drakov during the next zombie assault on Lakar by sabotaging the defenses and admitting the zombies to the Bastion Ward. Wow! I mean, you're gonna, like, make it so nobody's in the Bastion Ward at the time, right? The Jimson Weeds, a band of survivors in Silbervass, vanish after attempting to pillage the Dekoven Palace. Soon after, the palace's strange lights appear among buildings formerly claimed by the lost survivors. Interesting. I think I'll have to go back up and find out more about these strange lights. A knight named Gondagal attacks Talon patrols and claims she can lead the common folk to a safe holdfast. None who go with her are seen again, but Talons hire the party to hunt down the knight. Ooh. I really like the idea of making that she's telling the truth, And it's just she has like an underground safety bunker that has like its own like hydroponics and stuff. That would be hilarious. Characters learn of downtrodden citizens in Lakar plotting to escape into the mists. Following the next zombie siege, are the citizens desperate combatants, or are they Talon agents seeking to draw out traitors? Why not a mix of the two? On the night of the new moon, no zombie horde appears at Lakar's walls. Instead, an undead messenger arrives with a missive for General Drakon. Nice. So what is these strange lights? The Coven Palace. Groups of fractious survivors claim sections of the small city's ruins, scavenging and skirmishing over territory and resources. They're unified in their commitment to silence to avoid attracting the notice of zombies, and whoever makes their home in the ominously lit Dekoven Palace overlooking the ruins. And that's in Silvervoss. Silvervoss is here. Yeah, that's nowhere near Lakar. They're fine. It must be, like I said, though, it must come from all the mists, so zombies must come up through Fort Watton and just go through Silvervoss up to Lakar, and the people of Silvervoss just sit there going like, make no sound, it'll be fine. If we make no sound, it'll be fine. Which of course it won't be fine, no matter what you do. So on to the Siege of Lakar. I wonder if they'll have like siege rules and stuff. That would be kind of nice, but I doubt it. We'll see. Falkovnia's terrors culminate monthly in the zombie assault on Lakar. If you plan to involve characters in Vladeska Drakov's war against the undead, first, consider... Whoops, I got lost. First, consider how they become involved. Following examples are just a few of the possibilities. Forced conscripts. The characters run into an overwhelming force of Talons and are absorbed into its ranks. When zombies appear at the city wall, the characters are offered their freedom in return for defending the city. Last Bastion. Far from Lakar, the characters fall in with local survivors, who say the city is the country's last safe bastion. Upon arriving, they discover the sanctuary is not what they'd hoped. Yeah, sounds right. Missed connection. Characters come to Falkovnia, having heard tales of it before the land's zombie uprising. An individual or item they seek is now in Lakar, forcing the characters to search the city and then escape. The mists deposit the character's consciousness into soldiers, Talon officers, or unprepared peasants preparing for the siege. Consult the Survivors section of Chapter 4 for suggestions on how to represent soldiers bound to face the Horde. Oh, that's cute. I think the PCs would hate it, but that's cute. That's a very cute thing. What do you guys think if you were players in that kind of a scenario and you suddenly were like, you are no longer your character. You're inside this quote-unquote survivor. All of your powers are gone. Have fun. An individual or item is now in Lakar, forcing the resources. Okay, yeah. That's super interesting. So, yeah, they're just talking about the generic survivor stuff. Apprentice, disciple, sneak, and squire. All of these characters are weaker than all of the characters that are standard Talons, which is very sad. Or I guess I guess they're about the same as a standard soldier, like a generic soldier. Oh boy, though. I want to be stuck with all that happening. Alright, so before the siege, The characters become enlisted in Makar's defense. They face a hopeless battle. They join hundreds of unprepared defenders, including commoners, holding clubs or longbows for the first time. Prior to the start of the siege, determine whether the characters will be positioned among the city's fortifications or on the streets, or where they will be positioned. The specs of these locations don't matter. No precision tactics will change the characters' fortunes against the zombie horde. Allow the characters to strategize however they please, though. Fortifications. Stairways within Makar's 40-foot high tower grants access to the 30-foot high walls. Parapets guard both. Providing defenders with 3/4 cover from those outside the walls. Fortifications around the gates hold controls for massive barred doors and portcullises. Both towers and gates contain suspended cauldrons. AC 19, hit points 20, damage immunities to poison and psychic. Iron pot suspended so it can be tipped easily, spilling its contents. Once emptied, cauldron must be refilled, and its contents must usually be reheated. Before it can be used again, it takes 3 actions to fill a cauldron and 1 action to tip it. Cauldrons can be filled with other liquids such as acid or green slime with different effects. They only give the one though, which is the boiling oil. 10-foot square area below it. Any creature in area must make DC 15 dexterity saving throw, taking 10 3d6 fire damage on failed save or half as much on a successful one. That's good. I'd like to use those to defend myself. Streets. Oh, that's the only fortification? There should be more than that, honestly. Well, I guess there's barred doors and portcullises, but still. Streets. The streets are packed with poorly armed commoners and cruel Talon soldiers. Ah, the Talon soldiers are jerks. Got it. Any character who succeeds on a perception check finds useful materials among the carts and cargo cleared from the streets. Weapons, a variety of adventuring gear, or the resources to approximate 1 gunpowder keg explosive. Oh, bombs. It would be nice to use the gun part of this, but set fire to it and blow up everyone within 10 feet. 3d6 for a horn. This is a keg though, so 7d6. Successful DC 12 dexterity saving throw halves the damage, setting fire to an ounce of gunpowder, causing it to flare for 1 round, shedding bright light in this should be used on the wall! Like, just make it, just like, put these outside the defense. I guess they've already done that. I guess they've already done that. I'm thinking too much about, like, this is all about once they hit your section of the siege, not this is what it's like in the siege in general. So I'm being too harsh there. During the siege, run the siege as a series of encounters rather than one extended battle. No, it must be an extended battle. Give them only the 1 set of HP. Give them no short rests. They will die for their hubris. How dare they come to this town, this city? No, yeah, that's good. Don't do this to your party. Don't make them 17 battles, no rests. Ugh. I would do rotating defense siege to give them, like, rests. So I'd say, like, okay, you're on the front lines, and the front lines have been defeated. You now move back to the 3rd line while the 2nd line holds. And then just have it keep being rotating back and forth like that. Which is probably how, what's her name? God, I'm bad at names. Vladeska does it, because you want your troops to at least get a little bit of rest. You don't want them just constantly fighting, because they're going to break down. Run the siege as a series of encounters rather than one extended battle. As terrible events unfold around the characters, it's up to them to determine who and how they will help. Begin with zombies approaching Lakar's walls. Characters might pick off distant zombies or enact plans to destroy dozens at a time. Character strategies are likely successful, but the horde soon begins overwhelming defenses nearby. Once the characters defeat a few zombies, roll a d6 and consult the zombie siege encounters table. The event rolled unfolds within sight of one of the characters. It's up to the characters to either take action or let the event transpire. When the characters complete an encounter, roll on the table again. If the characters ignore one of these events, the defender's situation worsens. Add +2 to the next roll on the table. D6, consult zombie siege encounters table, so that's below. Event rolled unfolds. It's up to the characters to take action or let it transpire. When they complete an encounter, roll the table again. If they ignored, it gets +2 to the next roll on the table. That would be interesting. I'll have to read what the encounters are. Siege lasts as long as you like. Use frantic rushes between emergencies to describe small horrors and victories, while wearing down the characters' resources with brief zombie attacks. If the characters feel completely overwhelmed, priests with potions of healing might appear, or an officer can enlist characters to deliver orders from General Drakov, likely related to the siege's climax. As the battle reaches what you determine to be the halfway point, roll 2d6 on the zombie siege encounters table and consult the concluding the siege section to guide the battle toward its final climax. I would maybe expand the siege encounter to be after their first pullback. And maybe make it that now that they're on like the third line of defense and everyone else is on the second, they decide between helping out during these encounters and taking their short rest. With the knowledge that if they help, when it comes down to their time, it will be easier than before, perhaps? Because I could put the party wherever this encounter happens, and then force them to run through the encounter themselves. It doesn't give them much time to rest, though, especially considering they're just going to go from fight to fight to fight. It does give them some resource management questioning, though, because they could, if I make these like mini encounters where it's like 1, maybe 2 PCs out of 5, out of the 4 or 5 can turn the tide. That might be an interesting way of doing it. But then they're stuck waiting and watching, which works for some players, but not others. Very interesting. So, zombie siege encounters. Encounter 1 is the zombies rip apart a soldier, causing those nearby to flee or freeze. So it's only 1d6. Roll 2. But it's only 1 originally. Okay, yeah, it's only 1. So at the beginning, zombie bodies pile up, creating a growing ramp on a section of wall is like the worst thing that can happen. Commoners attempt to flee the city, revealing a hidden gap in the wall. Ouch. Panicked Talon Mage recklessly casts destructive spells, catching zombies and soldiers in effects. Talon Messenger, bearing orders from Drakov, struggles to reach besieged gate. Commoners flee battle. A Talon attacks them, killing deserters to deter further flight. Then 7 through 12, which are only if you skip encounters or if you are rolling the 2d6. Zombies dig through or under wall, allowing them to flow steadily into city. Zombies cause siege weapon to fire into city or start conflagration. Fighting breaks out at a building Talon priests use to treat the wounded. Zombies break through a gate and begin scaling the portcullis beyond. Zombies infiltrate the sewers and appear in a supposedly safe part of the city. Masses of zombies or a botched scheme by defenders causes a wall or tower to collapse. Concluding the siege. After several encounters and hours of battle, guide the siege toward its conclusion. Using crumbling fortifications, routed defenders, and surprised zombie appearances. They said it's a disaster horror, but this feels more like just a siege. And a siege is kind of its own horror thing. I guess it's a disaster. I guess like the siege works become your world. So yeah, I guess. Surprise zombies' appearances to make it clear that a section of Lakar is lost. Drakov puts a desperate plan from the zombie siege climax table into effect if the characters do not stop her. Interesting that the characters may wish to stop her. Breaching the river gates, zombies pour into the city via the Zapadnost River. Drakov orders thousands of gallons of oil emptied into the sewer and then lit. Zombies burn, but flames consume the districts and the river is poisoned. The northern district will be overwhelmed. Drakov plans to destroy the bridges crossing the river using kegs of explosive powder. This will halt the zombies but trap soldiers and civilians on the other side. Drakov plans to open several gates, admitting the zombies into one populated district. While the zombies feed, the district will be set aflame. Drakov's troops round up civilians and force them out of the city, splitting the zombies' attention. This allows the Talons to shore up the defenses and repel a second, less concentrated zombie attack. Okay, the fourth one doesn't sound as bad as the rest of them due to the way they wrote it, but I think what they mean by splitting the zombies' attention, what they're saying is the zombies turn and start murdering civilians, and then come back later. Ooh. Chekhov's scheme might be even more alarming, involving magic or monstrous secret weapons. Once you have determined how the siege will unfold, start foreshadowing Darkov's scheme, giving the characters the opportunity to aid it, enact a less destructive plan, or save innocents. Use missives intercepted from a messenger or a sending stone taken from a fallen Talon officer to clue the party in on Drakov's strategies. In the aftermath, the characters are recognized for their heroics, winning esteem amongst the citizens, with the Talons or from Drakov herself. This can lead to a new daring assignment, or even being put in charge of preparing for next month's dire siege. No! No, I want to leave! And with that simple statement of no, I want to leave, we have left. We are now at Har'Akir, the domain of the ancient dead, with the Dark Lord Ankhtapat. Genre is dark fantasy. Got a whole bunch of stuff. Canopic jars, lapis lazuli scarabs, scroll of hieroglyphs. Okay, so Sands of Time, Desert Realm, Fallen Empires and Pyramids, Forgotten Pharaohs, Merciless Sun, Reed Hot, Generations of Tombs, Secrets Lie Beneath Sands, Markers of History, blah blah blah, Realm of Fierce Deserts, Mysterious Monuments, Rolled by Mummy, Ankhtapat, Speaker of Gods, Immortal Pharaoh, Golden Pyramid, City of the Dead. Okay. He watches over his domain, careless of the passage of mortal lives. His Ka, the missing piece of his fractured soul. Okay. So it's a lich looking for his phylactery. It's a mummy looking for his Ka, but it's a lich looking for his phylactery. Obsesses over lost treasure, thoughts of escaping and possibly long undead existence, servants plague domain in his name, hidden tomb courts, withered animal-headed elder mummies, children of Ankhtapat, luxuriate, emissaries of false gods, in the mud brick city of Mahar, priests of morbid gods oversee all aspects of life. portioning food, blessings to the worthy, punishing blasphemers. Pharaoh's servants also pursue quests to find mysterious lost treasure, and are ever desperate for clues and news to placate him, spare them from the storms of his wrath, and his buried legions of the ancient dead. Okay. Deserts ruled by the pharaoh. People worship the pantheon of strict gods. See the gods of Har'Akir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 gods, polytheistic. Only the 7 gods. Don't tell them that you worship a different god, or else you get stabbed. Monuments, pyramids of the past. Countless tombs, forming vast setting. Death rituals, calling for the heart, draining blood, wrapping remains in linen. Music. Many locals are accomplished singers or proficient in playing the reed pipe, goblet drum, or the arched harp. Okay, that's interesting. I think that's the most interesting piece of information out of all this, because the rest of it is just like Egypt, or at least like not actual Egypt, but like what the movie world assumption of Egypt is, which is fine. I like it. It's super easy to do that. But this last one about like, by the way, music. That tells me that as a DM, if I were going to put music in any of my games, this is the one I should definitely put the time into adding in. Because for me, I'm just continuing the music. For me, that's a sign that music is super important for this place. No other place has music written down that I've seen. In fact, let me double check. Individuals are in da-da-da. Yeah, no, nothing about music. Masks, day-to-day administration, nothing in da-da as it appears. Every week brings... Yeah. So similarly, this place, if I had a party that were interested in doing something like that, we would all get masks, I think, to wear to the social events. But that you have to have a party that's like, yeah, let's do that. Raises mindless undead, misconsumed Archon, blah blah blah. Escape, unaffiliated with Carnival, Carnival wanders, 2 silver pieces, blah blah blah, nothing. Yeah, this is the only place, as far as I can see, that says, hey, music. Like, deeply care about the music that you're doing. So if I were a DM, and if I were already into music, I would make a playlist deliberately for Har'Akir. Because it's so specific. And I would try to get the exact try to get pieces that have elements of those 3 instruments. And perhaps change my descriptions to, if I don't do the music, I would definitely try to remember to change my descriptions to include this, because the rest of it is very, like, I could just say, and then, just like in The Mummy, this happens, and then just keep moving forward. See, even under Akir on characters, it says, what role does music play in your life? And, like, it says it. So, like, music is... this is the only world where music is that deeply important to what's going on. All of this is... doesn't matter. The music matters. The rest of this is Hollywood Egypt. And I don't mean to be, like, really mean about it, but... it's Hollywood Egypt. Everyone knows what Hollywood Egypt is. At least everyone in my area knows what Hollywood Egypt is. And if you don't, watch movies like Mummy, watch, I don't know, like, watch the Indiana Jones movie, search for the, what was the Grail one? Last Crusade? I think the Last Crusade was the one with the Grail. And you just want to really get Hollywood Egypt. Yeah. Or if you're gonna do like a step better, like look up Egypt and like get a much better idea of what's going on. And then there's some oases. This is water places. Ah, poison. Interesting. People say it's poisonous, but I will say it was given to the beasts of the land. I might curse someone who drank from it. Like a wasting disease. Especially because the lions wash their kills. So you're essentially going to be drinking blood, like stale blood that's weeks old. Pyramid, a labyrinth, sands of soot. Sands of soot. Ah. Are they like soot, like, you know, dusty? Oh no, it's just the spot where the giant horrible sandstorms are. Constantly cleaned from soot. Blah 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 blah. Onktipot. Yeah, I saw this guy's image when I was talking to my friend about this stuff. Very different from what I understand most mummies to be. I think that's cool. This goes way beyond movie magic. Like, this is no longer Egypt movie design. Like, at least in my eyes, I would say this is future mixed with Egypt, maybe a little bit, but I don't even know, because Stargate's supposed to be future Egypt, so. But this is cool. I really like this. I think this can give you a pretty good idea of what the buildings are supposed to look like, which is not just movie Egypt. I'm getting a bit of a different vibe here. Everything is elegant and curved, it looks like. So I would try to put that into all the buildings. Is still have the pyramid and things like that, but have it be a pyramid which is more like whoosh, and maybe not even like a full pyramid, but instead of the corners, it would be kind of like these curved lines sort of thing going on. Because there's not a lot of points, I would say, in this art. So, in an ancient country, the inhabitants called the Land of Reeds and Lotuses, Anktipot served 3 generations of pharaohs as high priest. Dear God. When the second pharaoh died, her unworthy son ascended the throne. The new pharaoh quickly became unpopular amongst the people and priests. Seeking a remedy for this, Anktipot came to believe that the gods wanted another to take the pharaoh's place, one with knowledge of rule and the deity's blessing. On the day of the ritual that would consecrate the pharaoh's connection with the gods, Anktipot rallied his loyal priests and murdered their liege. He had misjudged the people's loyalty, though, and they rose up and executed the traitorous priests. Ouch. Moreover, he had misjudged the will of his gods. Double ouch. As he stood before them in death, the immortals forsook him, cursing him and denying him entry to the afterlife. Instead, they returned him to the world, but stripped away a piece of his soul, his Ka, the vital essence that inspires all living beings. Anktipot reawakened, trapped and paralyzed within his corpse, as he was mummified along with his treacherous followers. The murderous priest felt the pain of every cut and every organ removed as if he were alive. Then, within an unmarked crypt, he suffered and starved for what felt like an eternity. Oh, boy. Nice that they still buried him. That's pretty respectful to do to a dude who, like, betrayed everything. Untold years passed, but on the day the last memory of Ankhtapot's name faded from his homeland, that's a long time. Of the last memory? That's a long time. A voice intruded on his prison, asking if he still felt he was worthy to rule. Throughout the ages, his arrogance had not waned. He answered with certainty. Granted new freedom by the dark powers, Anktapot emerged from his crypt into the domain of Har'Akir. In this new land, Anktapot found a pious people devoted to the same gods he once served. Immediately, he set to wiping out that religion, replacing it with new gods of his own imagining, false divinities for whom he alone spoke. Using blasphemous rites, Anktapot resurrected the priests once buried alongside him as powerful mummies, replacing their heads with those of beasts holy to his new faith. These children of Anktapot served him as they did in life, and together the dead conquered the souls of Har'Akir. The ages have marched ever onward. Anktapot has known treachery and conquest. He has known divinity and rule. But now he knows only boredom, despair. His sole remaining desire is to recover his lost Ka, which he knows remains somewhere in Har'Akir. With it, he hopes to become mortal again, die, and face his original god's judgment once more. Whether this means peace or oblivion is meaningless to him. Anktapot seeks only an end. Oh. Anktapot's powers and dominion. A fantastically ancient undead. He's going to be a challenge rating 15, which means he's got spells up to like what level? Is it 6th? I think it's 6th. He has 6th level slots, yes. And he has 13 hit dice, which makes sense for 6th level slot. Nice. I guess 13 hit dice should technically be... oh god, level 7 spells. But, whatever. He's a 10th level spellcaster with access to 6th level spells. What? See? Why? Why would you lie to us like this, Quatsy? Beyond this, he rules as pharaoh, national leader, and voice of the gods. None in Har'Akir, among the living or dead, denies his will. The Dark Lord's wishes are few. He cares only for order and to find his lost Ka. The Dark Lord is served by many of the same priests who died alongside him in ages past. He resurrected these mummies and mummy lords with the heads of animals, painting them as spirits and harbingers of his fictitious gods of Har'Akir. As Anktapot has grown bored with mortal concerns, children of Anktapot have pursued their own vices. Many dream in despair in their crypts, others foment small cults of their own, and still others seek to undermine the pharaoh and claim his position, including the treacherous mummy lord, Senmet. The god's law. Although Anktapot cares nothing for fragile, short-lived mortals, he has a tyrant's obsession with order, and knows the living might be useful in finding his lost Ka. To that end, he relies on his priests to maintain peace in Har'Akir and provide for the people. Should the populace grow discontent, Anktapot expects the priests to deal with discord swiftly. If they cannot, he sends his mummy servants to indiscriminately quell any uprising. Examples of such massacres fill Har'Akir's history, but they are known only to the domain's priests. The priests of Har'Akir's gods work Anktapot's will. Most priests believe themselves to be devout servants of the gods, having no idea that their deities are false. They keep alert for strangers and omens, reporting them to their superiors, and ultimately, High Priestess Isu Rekotep. Don't know who she is. The High Priestess dutifully watches for signs of a mysterious treasure her pharaoh seeks, and orders any strangers in Har'Akir brought to her at the Temple of Ys. But she also relishes her influence and decadent lifestyle. She dreads the day Anktipot blames her for not finding what he desires, but she has no idea she's searching for the Dark Lord's Ka. That's cool. I would like to know more about the High Priestess. It sounds like you're never really going to talk to Anktipot himself. It sounds like you're going to do a lot of having to talk to her, so I would love to know more about her as a character. When Anktipot wishes to close the borders of Har'Akir, mighty sandstorms will rise at the edges of the domain. Those who enter the storms are affected, as detailed in the mists at the start of this chapter. But in addition, they'll take 2d6 slashing per round from the scouring sands. Ooh, not good. Not good. There's nothing in the save about that, so if they're making their DC 20 con saves, they're still taking 2d6, which, depending on how long, is going to be pretty bad. Role-playing Anktipot. Anktipot is seen only a few times a year, that's what I thought, when his priests bring offerings to Pharaoh's Rest and beseech him for the gods' empty blessings. Those who glimpse the pharaoh describe a withered corpse clad in black linen wrappings and golden adornments, with a voice like sand ground between clashing mountains. Oof. How do you like me? Now it's sand being ground between clashing mountains. It sounds like it would be an awful sound. The only time he bothers with either the living or the dead is when they actively offend him, such as by trespassing upon his solitude at Pharaoh's Rest. When they bring him hope of finding his ever-elusive Ka, or when disappointment kindles his rage. Personality trait: the stirring of a song, the scent of bread, the cool rush of water over skin. I have forgotten. Ouch. Ideal. I will regain my Ka and stand before the gods renewed, before I face the final darkness. Bond, my final age will be peaceful, and my domain will know law. I will cross any boundary, uncover any secret, tread any soul, if it gains me. Ooh. I would definitely play this differently, because a normal mummy lord has a rule about them about coming back because of their canopic jar, or their heart. If their heart is intact, within 5 feet of his heart. So I would make it his Ka instead, but I would make the 5 feet just like a location of one of his buildings or something like that. I think if the party ever fought him, I would have him laugh at them and just not fight back. The first time. And then I'd roll to figure out what he's going to do each time they fight him, if they fight him over and over again. Because he's clearly very powerful. And I think there should be a lot of care put in. He's not interested in killing the party, and he's not interested in anything other than order. And so I feel like he only does what he does in like the worst scenario, where he's like, okay, this situation cannot be fixed. Because he did help rule for 2 generations of pharaohs, which is pretty good. You gotta, like, You learn something about rule at the end of all that time. And I think that's what's really important to keep track of, is make his rulings awful, but keep them as things that make sense for the greater scheme of things. So, like, yes, he will have people killed and maybe impaled or whatever he feels, but he does that after a while. I'd probably also focus on really good infrastructure, despite it being a horrific, like, zone of waste. It's just a bunch of desert. I'd say he has, like, a really kick-butt, like, series of gardens that are keeping everyone alive and going. Adventures in Har'Akir. You find terror in trap-laden tombs and ancient curses. Har'Akir provides them an endless supply. Central plot: to search for his cock and lead adventurers to explore mysterious sites. Okay, so it's a little bit of an adventure thing. They're just saying, come see all these really cool areas. They're even say tour, so like think touristy. Yeah, take a tour of movie Egypt basically is what I would say. While the Har'Akir Adventures table suggests other plots that might unfold in this domain. I'm not gonna go through these. There's not much. The Revolutionary, Elise. This is the problem. There's a lot of names, but not a lot of, like, more info on these people. Oh, Is is... No, Ali's not Is. Okay, I would probably play this as a very, what would I say? If I were doing Har'Akir, I would probably start the party at the beginning. I would start with a party and make them, like, the first allies he picks up. Have him come to them and say, like, you know, you don't understand, the gods are a lie. These beings, they tell you things and they lie to you to get what they want, but at the end there is no true salvation. And have him have proof, like, be able to show them what he did, like, how he truly, like, went for the gods and tried to help, and have the party be like, oh my gosh, that's, like, have him be able to show them his memories. Have him say, like, I know what it's like to listen blindly to the gods. Because while it says that he misunderstood what they wanted, I think part of the arrogance of someone who sits down and says, I misinterpreted and therefore I should be angry and take over, is the kind of person that says, like, I did not misinterpret, they betrayed me. I think that's the lie he tells himself. Is I did not misinterpret, they betrayed me. And so have him tell the party this and prove it to the party through his memories. And then from there, do this revelation about the gods being awful. And you can create a new set of pantheon of gods, because the Har'Akir gods are, of course, false. But create, like, a set of gods, and then have the party have to face off against them, and give the party each things that make it like, I don't like these gods to begin with. So, like, you can tell the party, like, here's the list of gods, and tell me, give me, like, one god, just one god. You can give me more if you want, but give me one god where it's clear that what they did was wrong. Like, that, someone, like in Old Testament Bible, God tells a guy to kill his son, I forget the details, but he tells his son, his guy to kill his son, and then as he does it, like an angel comes in and grabs the hand, and it's like, oh no, 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 you're not supposed to kill him. You're not supposed to kill him. And then you can do a lot of things like that, but have them all end in like the worst way. Like you actually killed your son, or you watched your son, your brother get killed by your father, or something like that. Some really interesting stuff, because then you can have a campaign about fighting the gods, and I would say that that is a perfect opportunity to build from. I know we're fusing books and things right now, but this is kind of how I do things. That's a perfect opportunity to build from, where are you? Theros, Mythic Odysseys of Theros, and you can build the party's like heroic drives and all these things, and have the party learn about these other gods from the Har'Akir guy. What's his name? What is this guy's name? Anktipot. Have Anktipot tell them about these new gods, and give them powers based on their belief in Anktipot's gods. And get them to the end and defeat things. Yeah, I think that's replacing them with parodies. Yeah. Sek heals the sick. That's funny. Yeah, I think that could be a really cool game. Is the beginning of Har'Akir. And you can do this section too about finding the Ka and all that stuff, and that could be a really fun thing. But it's a very Indiana Jones-esque sort of thing, and not to say that that's bad, but to say that that's it can get tiring to be constantly looking for this item called the Ka, and then you just go look for the Ka, go look for the Ka, go look for the Ka, and you find it essentially when the DM says, now you find the Ka, or you find it like really quickly, but then a guy's like stolen it, and then it becomes more of a heist thing, or like a chase where you're trying to find this dude, chase him down. But there was a young Indiana Jones, which was like a spin-off of the Indiana Jones series, where you played where people you watch the show, and it was just Indiana Jones when he was like 20 or something like that. And there's the first mission that he goes on is to find some ancient relic. I think it's either looking for Atlantis or something like that. I don't know. But what happens is he eventually gives up, because they find a thing that says like, this is where the map to Atlantis is, and then they're like, oh my god, and they go and they find a thing that says, in my research, this is where the map of Atlantis is, and they're like, oh my god, let's go, and they do it and they do it and they do it, and finally at the end of, I think, doing 3 or 4 of these, Indiana's sitting with this older guy who's been like on the same adventures with him, and the older guy's like, they translate it, and he's like, oh my goodness, this one says, I know, he thinks the map of Atlantis is in this tomb, and Indiana Jones is like, you know what, I'm done. I just can't anymore. This is too much. You've said that we're going to find the map to Atlantis. We're going to find the map to Atlantis. We're going to find the map to Atlantis, and it just never ends. And for me, searching for the Ka has that feel to it. Where for some reason, I do not have that same feeling when it comes to go and defeat these warriors sort of thing. Yeah. So, the Dark Powers have granted a measure of power to Anktipot's false gods. Players who worship one of the gods or the pantheon as a whole receive powers if they worship a true deity that offers the death domain. Despite their distinct roles, traditions, and places within the lives of Har'Akir's people, these gods are all especially aloof, cryptic, morbid, and supportive of the pharaoh's rule. That's interesting that they're all death domain and nobody notices that, because each of these is supposed to be different. Like, this should be death domain. This should be life domain. I don't know what this one is, but that, you know, we're orders the heavens, controls death, heals the sick. Like, all of these being death domain, like a few of them very differently, clearly they work towards death domain, but you would think that each one would be its own thing. Like this one, sowing despair and discord might be like trickery domain or something like that. Healing the sick, cultivating life would be life domain or some other kind of thing. Orders the heavens and all beneath would definitely be order domain. Above all things, Pharaoh Ankhtapat seeks to retrieve his Ka, the missing piece of his soul. Characters in Har'Akir are likely to become involved in the Pharaoh's search. Before they do, though, consider the specifics of that search. That form his lost Ka might take, how characters might be involved, and what happens if the Pharaoh does recover his soul. The soul's shape. Before tasking characters with retrieving it, determine what form the Ka takes. It might be a physical object, a living creature, a spiritual concept that needs to be summoned into being. Roll or choose an option from the soul table to determine the form of the Dark Lord's Ka. It was a very interesting way to do it. One is a hawk or giant eagle that tirelessly circles the sun. I like that. I really like it being something that's in the sun, because it's a very tomb-oriented adventure. So it's kind of cool to me that you're constantly searching for this Ka, and it involves constantly going deeper and deeper into these tombs and trying to learn more about the history of everything. And you can have reference to it. You can have the image of the bird, this resplendent bird that like wraps its wings around the sun and is like beautiful and glorious in every detail, and just have people miss out on it. And misunderstand like what that means, and just go like, oh, of course, the sun, the god of life handles that domain, or whatever, and then eventually realize like all of the gods are fake. And they're like, well, if all the gods are fake, then what are we really talking about here? And then they find out that Ankhtapat is like the lord of this domain. And that's when the party figures out what's going on. And they're like, wait. And they sit there and think about it. And they realize that that symbol, that constant reference back to that symbol, would be the Ka that circles, the Ka of the sun. And they're like, hey, there is that bird, maybe even have the bird be vaguely known about. It's like, oh yeah, there's or at least there's always birds circling the sun. They're always in the sky, they always circle it, it's just not questioned. And then have them go, wait, and then find out there's one specific bird that circles the sun. I really like that as Ankhtapat. 2. A canopic jar containing the pharaoh's heart hidden within a forgotten tomb. Yeah, no, basic. Just stab him and he appears next to it and he never thought, this is my Ka! Just no. Like, he's a mummy lord, he already can't die. Like, I get it if that's what you want to go with and he's never died yet. He's just like, I'm gonna stay alive as long as I can. But, like, it would be not just ironic, but the height of... I just don't like that. That's... Like, it can work really well, like for people, but for me, I like the hawk giant. The hawk giant eagle one is much more. But the canopic jar definitely falls in line with what would make the most sense, I guess, because it's like let's assume he's never died. He's been very careful and hasn't gotten himself stabbed, and now he's just sitting around and he's like, well, I don't know anything about my heart, so I'm just gonna not bother. Like, I'm not gonna try to die or anything like that. So he's seeking out this thing, but he can never find it. And the answer is as simple as being stabbed to death. 3 is mummified and divided apart meat, a piece of which is hidden within each of the remaining loyal children. Ankhtapat. Interesting. Very interesting. that one could be fun. Because you gotta, like, chase them all down and kill them. And they'll fight you for it. You know? A blessing granted to those who survive both the Breath of the Forgotten and the Breath of the False. What is the Breath of the Forgotten? Breath of the... Two sandstorms, the Breath of the Forgotten. These storms are said to impose tests from the gods on those who enter them, trials that punish those living lives without consequence of faith. Though they are known to stop and rise without warning, obeying Anktapot's whims, religious guides known as Suits Chosen wander the region. The Order's members claim to know how to read and navigate past the storms to reach the City of the Dead by the most expedient route. That's cool. Like, that's fine. Yeah, you could do that. That's... You'd think somebody would have done it. 5 is a set of relics holy to the old gods of Har'Akir. That's fair. I think that's a cool way to go. His very destruction of the past. Especially by those who took the call. Manifestation of a joyous song sung by Muhar's people. I don't know who Muhar is. Muhar is the original... Oh, it's a city. Largest oasis shares a name with the city of Muhar, which sits upon the southern shore. Gazelles and herons frequent population approximately 3,000 people. Almost said 3 million, geez. It's 3,000 people. It's the largest settlement in Har'Akir. Center of trade, agriculture, art, and religion in the domain. Temple of East towers over the city, its limestone walls glinting like a jewel in the sun. They worship, receive food, share, seek justice, and receive medicine or healing, all from the hands of the High Priest. High Priest claims to speak for Pharaoh Anktapot in all matters, and her word is considered both royal decree and divine edict. Truth, though, Pharaoh cares little for the living so long as order is maintained, leaving Rekotep to run Muhar largely as she pleases. Those who displease her or oppose her priest guards are thrown into the mouth of Oru, a pit that connects to the labyrinth. That would sound fun. Okay, City of the Dead is where High Priest of Muhar bodies are kept or something like that. I like the joyous song because it's been so big on how music is really important. Or maybe not. It's not necessarily super important, but it said music was important, and it gave a reference to music, so it would really tie everything together if you could make music part of what happens. Though I do like the Hawk or Giant Eagle circling the sun, but music, I don't think it's just a song, the manifestation of a joyous song sung by Muhar's people. So, like, if all the darkness went away or something like that, I think something a little more than that. Like, his hubris... I don't know. I don't really get why he's, like, the evil in this. Like, he made a mistake and then, like, was basically tortured alive for, like, thousands of years, and it's like, okay. So they just made him crazy, and then he became evil. Cool. I don't know. It's... I mean, killing the Pharaoh was definitely supremely evil, but it's not as... I don't know how to put it. Like, just killing the Pharaoh is... It's meh to me. Like, it's such a soft ball. Oh, he deserves a Domain of Dread for that. I don't know. Feels strange. Which... This is actually a really good time. I picked up this book after finding out about the Van Richten's Guide. This is, you're able to get this on our Drive-Thru RPG, which of course, Drive-Thru RPG is awesome. They have all the old books. This is a second edition Domains of Dread, and it's about Ravenloft, and it's everything about it, and there's more here. Like it doesn't have the timeline stuff, because this is the current edition, because a timeline has been set up for Ravenloft, which they've been vaguely following. But I think there's a really important note here, which is in the table of contents. Like, first of all, this book is thicker. Like, this is bigger than the Van Richten's book. It has more pages. I think it has more content. It's always hard for me to tell mentally, because I'm not good at comparing sizes and, like, because, you know, Van Richten's is taller, I think, which gives it a little bit more space and things like that, but what's really important here is Ravenloft in second edition had this important thing, which is in the introduction, you've got the table of contents, and chapter 1 is the Demiplane of Dread. Chapter 2 is the Domains of the Core, and then chapter 3 is the Islands of Terror, and chapter 4 is the Clusters and Pockets. And chapter 5 is Secret Societies, and then there's Fear, Horror, and Madness. Like, these, I believe, are going to give a better explanation as to how different each section of the domains is. And that, I think, is really important to reference. And I just got to the page randomly. Here is Octopop from the Domains of Dread. He's looking pretty nifty. So I'm going to look over this later. But Domains of Dread, Ravenloft 2nd Edition, it's gettable at Drive-Thru RPG. Here's the link and everything, like drivethrurpg.com. And you just come here and you can just type in like Domains of Dread, and it should pop up. Yeah, bam, Ravenloft Domains of Dread, and it's super cheap. It's $10 for the PDF, and I think it's $20 right now to get the softcover book and the it's a softcover standard color book as well as the watermarked PDF. They say standard color, but I think that's just the cover because and the red text, because otherwise, like, everything's in black and white, as you can see right here. But yeah, we've got I've got that book. So after we finish up Ravenloft here, I'm going to pull up my Domains of Dread PDF, and then we're going to start comparing and contrasting and seeing what extra stuff we've kind of been missing. Oh, and then there's apparently a whole section here that's more stuff from Ravenloft, Chilling Tales, RR1, Dark Lords, a whole different set. And that people can look at as well. But I saw this and I grabbed it and I was like, this is going to help. And so not to... I think this is going to explain some things, and we'll see. But Van Richten's guide is good, but I feel like the Domains of Dread probably answers a few more questions and gives us a better idea about what's actually going on. So, number 7 is the soul of an innocent healer who resembles the pharaoh as he was in life. Okay. Number 8 is the soul of a character, perhaps one with an echoing soul, a dark gift in chapter 1. Let's see what the echoing soul is. Ah, yes, my soul is linked to that of a person who is elsewhere. Okay. Poor innocent healer. If it was an innocent healer who resembles the pharaoh as he was in life, I would make that healer do a lot of singing and song. And I would have him write songs from, not Har'Akir, but from where the pharaoh was originally from. And I would describe it as like these hauntingly beautiful melodies that nobody understands, and they're like, what is this far-off land you speak of? And he says he doesn't know, it's just the natural muse that comes to him. But what it is of course, the Ankotep's soul, like, resonating back with his homeland and trying to regain that glory. I think that would be the fun way of doing it. Combine 7 and 6. And so, like, maybe he has to create a song that makes Smuhar's people sing or something like that. I think the two together is the key to manifesting the Ka. But that's for everybody has their own versions of how this needs to go down, so that's what's going to be really fun. Once you know the form of Pharaoh Ankhetop's Ka, determine how the characters become involved with the hunt for it. Events might make finding the soul to be in the character's best interest, or they might already possess it, making them the Dark Lord's quarry. In any case, while it's well known that the Pharaoh seeks some lost treasure, he doesn't advertise that he seeks his own Ka, making this revelation part of any successful hunt. Roller choose an option from the hunt for the Ka to determine what form the domain-spanning quest takes. See, that's a problem, is he's like, it's just an object, but, you know, you'll figure out a way to tell the party, like, this might be what he wants. I think I would have... If I were running it, I would have the party find a really spectacular artifact early on and tell them this might be what he's looking for, and then when they get there to present it to him, let the, I forget what her name is, you know, the interesting character, the one who, like, most likely everybody's going to talk to, High Priestess, Isu Rekotep. Have Isu Rekotep take them to it and be like, I hope you guys, you know, are correct. You know, the Lord will definitely be glad to see that you've gotten this item for him. Let us see what he says. And she brings you with, and you bow before the glory of this guy. He looks down at you, and you see, like, on his walls already are anciently powerful artifacts that thrum with energy, even more powerful and great than this little bauble you've brought, and just have your heart sink, and have her, like, present it, and he looks at it and he's like, wow, a bubble. But then have him, like, go over how you guys got it, and then explain that, like, it seems that you are, you know, good at finding your way through tools. Perhaps that can aid, and then send them out. Knows. And just send them out on the quest, and that's how it, like, really starts up. Is he seems that they're good at what they do, and then he's just like, all right, oh, go, and just tell them, like, you know, bring back any treasures you find, and I will provide you. You know, he'll become like their patron. And then let them see the horror of the world around them slowly, but, you know, they're on the top end. They're on the, like, happy-go-lucky end. Have them, like, they get badges or something that say, like, you know, we're Ankhetop's tomb raiders. Like, Ankhetop hired us specifically to raid tombs. And then that can allow you for the political intrigue and things like that, of constantly coming back and forth to the cities and seeing, like, the changes of people over the time that they've been gone, because it, like, takes weeks to get to these tombs, and then, like, days to search through them, and then weeks to get back. And they can meet the healer, and maybe the healer goes with them on a lot of different things, and you know, sits there and helps them out, and, you know, sits back, but, like, always runs up and always does healing for you guys. Is very nice and really cool. And then you learn you gotta kill him. I think that would be top notch. But, you know, anything people want to do is anything people want to do. I'm just trying to fuse a lot of things together. So the hunt for the Ka, the characters come to the attention of High Priestess Rekotep, who demands they aid her in finding the Pharaoh's lost treasure or face punishment. Question about that, they keep saying High Priest and High Priestess? Why? Why not just pick one? I suppose it doesn't matter. But it does make it, like, weird. Revolutionaries displeased with the priest and the Pharaoh search for Ankhetop's lost treasure in hopes of gaining leverage over the ruler. The Sphinxes of Har'Akir know that Ankhetop is close to finding his lost Ka. They hope to find it first and place it outside of the Dark Lord's reach. You just watch Sphinx. You're like, we have it! The Ka! And then the Sphinx just takes you. And then runs it over and just drops it into the abyss. Oh god, that would be hilarious. Oh gosh. Need to check something. Real quick. Da-da-da. That would be so awesome. Just the Sphinx like takes it, and chucks it. It's like no. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Going to try out thing. Got a message that the Discord link is not there, so I'm going to slap it there, and then throw myself on to streaming to see if anybody is saying hi or anything. Anyway, that's that. Just did that real quick. We didn't went through the. Love the Sphinxes. I would love to. Party gets jumped by 6 Sphinxes, by 6 Sphinx, and then like one of them just like lifts one of them bodily and just like takes him away. Oh no, so good, so good, so good, so good. Okay, so next is the child of Anktapot, either a loyal servant like Nefir or a traitor like Senmet. Tasks the characters with finding the lost Ka to fulfill their own ends. I like that it's a loyal servant who has their own ends, who's like the Lord wants it, and that is fine, but I believe that there is a better way. Murals or hieroglyphs within a tomb the characters discover lead to other ruins, each bearing a clue to finding the pharaoh's missing treasure. After the characters die, Pharaoh Anktapot resurrects them, perhaps as reborn. Their continued existence is contingent on searching for and finding its Ka. Interesting. Yeah, so that's a bunch of different options for the Ka, which is, I think, pretty interesting. So, the resurrection ritual. Once Pharaoh Anktapot's Ka is found, he must still heal his fractured soul. Doing so requires a ritual with several components. 1. It must be performed in a specially prepared chamber at the heart of Usa's pyramid. 2. It must be performed for 1 hour, starting when the full moon is at its highest point. 3. If the Ka exists within another being, it must be released at the ritual's climax, with the possessor being slain and granted the honor, I'm going to say that's real heavy quotes, of mummification. And last, if the Ka does not exist within another being at the ritual's climax, a worthy life must be extinguished to seal the Ka to the rest of the pharaoh's soul. I would definitely have an optional version of that where the pharaoh can be killed to make the person whole, where he gains like the powers, but he's still like a good person. Ritual is enacted and watched over by the Dark Lord's servants, living priests, children of Anktapot, and other deathless guardians. The Dark Lord and any required victim must remain present for the duration of the rite. If the ritual is disrupted, the Ka escapes, fleeing the pyramid and potentially taking on another form. Even if the Ka is recaptured, the ritual cannot be performed again until the next full moon. In any case, Pharaoh Anktapot is furious if the ritual fails, taking his rage out on all present, and perhaps all of Har'Akir. I love the idea of it just like something going wrong and it running off and him going like, ah, and just destroying everything. He'd be so angry. Um, Pharaoh's return. If the ritual is successful, Ankhtapat is reborn. Roll or choose an option from the reborn table to determine what this means for Har'Akir. Ankhtapat is now mortal, but retains all his supernatural abilities. Newly invigorated, he takes a more active role in the rulership, indulging in decadences and forcing the people to raise vast monuments to his newfound glory. Awesome. Went straight for evil there. Ankhtapat is only briefly mortal. His body rapidly wastes away, returning him to his undead state. Furious, he unleashes his deathless hordes, intent on transforming Har'Akir into an afterlife of his own making. Ankhtapat is reborn and soon after dies for good. The remaining children of Ankhtapat turn to one another, each declaring themselves Pharaoh Ankhtapat II. Ankhtapat is reborn, dies, is cursed by the gods anew, and is locked within a tomb. Har'Akir falls to chaos and the land is scoured by squabbling mummies, a fruitless revolution, and harsh storms. Only by returning Ankhtapat to power can the land be saved. Oh, I love that last one. That's a good one. That's a good one to force on Ankhtapat. What do you
Is
mean?
that the best situation Ankhtapat could hope for?
That, according to them, these are the 4 situations that they think of. Hey, Target, how's it going?
Hey, doing all right.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, just like everything's bad for everyone. It was better under Ankhtapat. Like, is that the best he can hope for among all these cursed, awful endings?
I mean, he did say he was okay with dying, so 3 is best for him, which is he is reborn and then dies like 5 minutes later.
Very, very. What is it like? Tao of just like it. You lose an arm. It's not bad if you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, his first 2 are not. The first one, I guess, is him living his best life. He is now mortal, but retains all supernatural abilities. He is newly invigorated, takes a more active role in rulership of the lands by indulging in decadences and forcing the people to raise giant monuments to his newfound glory. That's number 1 is probably him at his happiest.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But oh my god, I like 4, and I like the other ones better, where it's just like, yes, you're back. Well, also you're dead. I seriously love 4 though. Just you're back, you die, you're cursed by the gods, and you're locked in a tomb again.
Take him down.
Just drawing the go straight to jail card is the best option. I love it. So good. And now we are moving on from Har'Akir to Hazlan, which is good because I like to pretend that we're resting in whatever horrible lands we're in. So I don't want to be in a horrible desert wasteland for a whole week. But Hazlan might be worse, so let's find out. Dark fantasy, disaster horror. Dark Lord is Hazlik, so Hazlik of Hazlan. A nice name. Amos. Yep.
Domain doomed by magic, but isn't that like all of them?
No. You see, the others aren't doomed by magic. Har'Akir is doomed by the ancient dead Octopod, and Falkovnia is doomed by the dead.
Alive for magic.
The dead of magic, and Dementlu is the decadent delusion of magic. Yeah, it's always magic, just a little different. How the magic takes place. I think this is magic in general. This is going to be like Sire 343, I think it's called, which is the Van Richten's Guide. It's gonna be like Sire 1313, the Morning Rail, where it's like a magic nuke went off and you're doomed. So, the hallmarks of Hazlan, ruled by Hazlik, are amoral spellcasters, a magic-ravaged environment, magical experiments, and wild magic. So, Sorcerer Supreme is wild magic, so we have our win. Mist talismans are the Eye of Hazlik amulet, the Gremishka. What's a Grimishka? Let me look that up real quick. What's a Grimishka? Is that one of the new Grimishka's a monster? Oh god. This is Van Richten's creature. It's a horrible cat. What is that? Target, you got any idea what that is?
No.
It's like a cat, right? It's like one of those furless cats.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see a picture. Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. It's like a hairless cat. It's got bone that it's snapping in half with its teeth. Vicious products of mistakes made by novice spellcasters seeking to create life. No wizards! Stop trying to make life! That's how we
I
got the owl bear!
my brother and I came up with an idea for a cat folk uh like ambassador that's one of the skinless cats because they
Mhm.
figure like, oh yeah, humans like things that look like them. So we'll send the skinless cat to put them at ease.
Perfect. um, so that'll be a fun. That could be a very fun thing with Hazlan is just make all the monsters monstrosities because monstrosities are basically like a wizard made this. Scrap from a red robe. Oh, because of the red robes of Thay. So yeah. In Hazlan, magic is authority, justification for any excess, and for those without it, the specter of inevitable doom. Why? This domain is less a nation than a vast magical laboratory whose wizard overlord Hazlik views every being as either an apprentice or a test subject. I believe that's giving him too much credit. I'm positive he sees them all as apprentices and test subjects.
Like
Conscripts.
I wanna see the peasant he approaches as like, so are you an apprentice or a test subject? And they're just trying to ass pull any kind of like, I want to test the effect of this magic weed on, please don't kill me.
Allowed to test the effect of this magic weed on. Please don't kill me. Oh my god, yes. Uh, such a good, such a good way to break it down. Uh, let's see. He conscripts all lesser mages to perform elaborate magical experiments, twisting the fabric of magic and reality until it frays. They endlessly scour a domain drained of vitality, tortured by magical disasters and overrun with abominations. Greatest wounds affect the invisible flows of magic underpinning the land, turning it erratic and dangerous. Great, yeah. Magical dangers. Da-da. Yeah, the spellcasters do more and more each day. So it's like Bloodspur in that like there's a bunch of horrible experimentation going on. Except the ruler is just a dude instead of a giant horrible brain that commits cannibalism. Um, so noteworthy features is Hazlik rules Hazlan. Individual inhabitants claim the eye-like design bears his blessing and wards off dangerous magic. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It's probably just a spell so he can see through it. um, creatures warped by magical experiments infest the domain, including Grimishkas and purple worms. Oh, I guess they are monstrosities. And then here's the map of Hazlan. Hazlan's fine. Look at that. It's fine. I don't know what the lacuna is, but it's fine. Uh, you know you're in good lands when you have a section called the Seething and a section called the Brew. Oh gosh. So a whole bunch of disasters. There's a list of disaster sites. Landscape of Haslan bears the scars of reckless magical experiments and wizardry rivals. Wizardly rivalries. Following are examples of the bizarre sites that dot the domain. The brew, this toxic marsh is poisoned biochemical pollution from ramuli and populated by sapient fungi and enriched plant creatures. The fleshless forest. Every plant and creature with this forest was turned to stone. The condition is infectious. Moonstone Valley. Meteors and otherworldly creatures crash into this wasteland during every new moon. Mound of the Worm. Land rose from deep underground to form this mesa, unleashing dozens of purple worms on the surface. There is an aged albino worm named Grave Drinker, which dominates this region. This is good. This is good. This is what you want the party to see. The Orbido class, one of the numerous floating rock formations in central Hazlik. It bears an uncanny resemblance to tools used in performing lobotomies. Mm. And the Playas. Former lakes have been reduced to quicksand-riddled purple worm feeding grounds. The seething. This region is devoid of life, and its land crumbles away. Okay. That is time. So next time we will focus on Hazlik. Thank you everybody for coming and hanging out. Thank you, Target, for figuring out that I need to send people invite links. I have no idea how I'm going to keep doing that, but yeah, thank you for telling me to send out the invite links, and thank you for coming on to talk for a bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you have like an overlay that you can put an overlay or an invite link on, but however you figure it out.
I will look into it. I just knew I needed to do this because I do want to talk to the two people while talking about like D&D specific stuff. And so far I've been using the Discord server that a friend of mine has, and I don't they're cool with me inviting whoever, but I also don't want to just invite.
Posted everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not trying to mess with other people's places. I'm, just trying to use what I can and then change what I need to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep. So I'm going to figure out how this Discord link works over the next week or so. Our next focus is going to be on. I'm going to be playing Operation Tango with Flatline, and then I think I'm on Fridays. I'll be doing Tailspire to try to make a map. I already have some of it done, and I just want to try to make D&D maps using Tailspire and see kind of how that works, because Tailspire looks cool, but it has some problems where like everybody has to buy a copy, and I'm trying to figure out ways to get around that. Then also just show people the map sort of thing. And then I think Thursday I'll be doing Resident Evil still for a bit, because I want to get the knife only challenge done, and then I want to do a run through where I'm just essentially unstoppable with a bunch of unlimited ammo guns.
Nice.
And then from there, I think I'll play Control or something, and just figuring out what doing with the time that I have. But I think this will slowly end up becoming more and more of a D&D channel, because I like talking about D&D, and I like reading through the Van Richten's guidebooks, and I got a ton of D&D books that I've never really read, and this gives me a perfect opportunity to just sit there and read them and read them and read them. So I think that'll work really well, and also I get to talk with you guys about it, so I think that all works. Anyway, thank you again, Target, for doing this.
Yeah, see you around.
See ya. Have a good one. And to everyone out there, there's a Twitter and other things. I don't know the names of all the things, but there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's all this kind of stuff. Have a great one, and goodbye, everyone.